And I'm gonna just be teaching you guys a lesson. And the reason why I'm here is because I want to be a teacher, just like Mr. Lloyd. And so I'm doing my practice right now to be able to become a teacher. Hopefully next year I'll be able to, be on my own and be helping you guys possibly or other students. But I'm really excited about that. And so we're gonna switch gears because I know you guys have been talking about Earth, all the Earth formations, all the erosion, how Earth has changed throughout the years. So I've heard some of those lessons and those have been really fun to learn about. But now we're gonna switch gears and we're gonna talk about artificial selection. And you might be wondering, what is artificial selection? What are we gonna learn about this? So the connection that we can make from your past lessons and for this lesson, so in the past lessons you learned about geologic events that have helped build the Earth's timeline. You have learned about the volcanic eruptions, like I heard about Mount St. Helens, how that eruption made so many changes to the land around that mountain. How the rocks and the fossils within the Earth can tell the story of how long the Earth's history has been. So today we're going to learn about dogs specifically and some fruits and vegetables, how they have changed over time. So who knows, who were the ancestors of dogs? Wolves, that's right, yes. Yeah, so if you look at a wolf, they're very big, they're kind of scary. And if we compare them to our dogs now, compare a wolf to a Chihuahua. It's pretty different, right? Yes.
I think Chihuahuas are humans.
Well, they bark a lot. They bite our ankles, right?
And people think the big ones are scary, but the tiny ones are scary.
And so the ancestors, they would hunt. They're pretty scary. Now, if we go into the woods and find wolves, they're in packs, they're big dogs, they're hunting, they may scare us. But now we have our pets, and humans have made that change to the wolves. Throughout the years, they have found, okay, let's see which characteristics of dogs we like, which traits. So do you guys know, let me just go over some vocabulary. So artificial selection is the identification by humans of desired traits in animals and other organisms, and the steps that they take to enhance or preserve those traits. Selective breeding is very similar. So a selection and breeding of organisms with desired traits. When I talk about a trait, this refers to a unique quality or characteristic. And we all have traits as well. We have black eyes or brown eyes. We do just have different traits, just as dogs do. I can also, later on in the lesson, I'm going to be talking about a claim. What is a claim? So a claim is a statement that presents itself as being true. And that claim must also be supported by evidence. So evidence is the group of facts of information indicating whether that claim that we write is true. And then also breeding. So breeding was used. So breeding is the activity of controlling the mating and production of offspring in animals. So breeding was used in artificial selection to come from having that wolf and now having poodles, German shepherds, Chihuahuas, the different dogs that we now have. So I want to go ahead and show you guys a video that talks a little bit more about this. Let me go ahead and show you guys.
Most of us are familiar with dogs, oftentimes known as man's best friend. And what's fascinating about them is that they're one species, even though different types of dogs, different breeds could look very, very different. And the fact that they're one species says that if you have a male and a female dog, any two, that in theory they could reproduce and produce viable offspring. Although in, for example, the case of this character and this character, the mechanics could get quite difficult. But an interesting question is where do dogs come from? And why do we have these seemingly specialized breeds amongst dogs? You might have things like a Rottweiler that's better for protection. You might have things like terriers that have been specialized to maybe go after rodents. You have things like border collies that are good at herding other types of animals. The simple answer is through artificial selection and domestication. Remember, in any population of a species, there's variation in that species. And when we talked about natural selection, that's where the environment might select for certain of those variants. Certain of those variants might make it a little bit easier to survive or reproduce, and then those would predominate, and that's how evolution happens. Artificial selection and domestication is where humans take matters into their own hands. And instead of waiting for nature to do things, they are the selection factor. They pick which of the species get to reproduce and which ones don't. And when you have that type of artificial selection, the change can happen much, much faster. Breeding is essentially artificial selection. So dogs like this, and all the dogs we know of, had ancestors that looked like this, that looked like a wolf, that were a wolf. And what we theorize is that the early stages of some wolves eventually evolving into dogs might have been more traditional natural selection, where tens of thousands of years ago our hunter-gatherer ancestors, as they hunted and gathering, they might have leftover food here or there, and some of the wolves that just happened to be the variants that were a little bit more comfortable getting close to humans might have benefited from being able to get some of that leftover food, being able to get some of the remains that the human beings left behind. But then over time, human beings probably realized that, hey, these wolves are useful to have around. Maybe they provide some form of protection. Maybe over time, they started breeding the wolves. So the wolves that were especially friendly, the wolves that were especially good at a certain task, say protection, or going after some type of an animal, or retrieving things, they allowed those to reproduce together. And over time, over tens of thousands of years, we went from wolves to dogs. And even once we had dogs, the breeding got even more specialized. As I mentioned, things like border collies, this was many years, many generations of breeding where sheep herders might have selected dogs that were good at herding sheep. That terriers came from dogs that were good at going after rodents, things like Rottweilers or dogs, breeding the dogs that were especially good at providing protection or defense. And it isn't just dogs that are products of artificial selection and domestication. Pretty much any animal that you might see on, say, a farm would be the product of artificial selection and domestication. A wild pig looks like this, while the ones that you would see on a farm look like that. And once again, they would have selected for things like docility, things where they're less aggressive and they're easier to take care of. And artificial selection and domestication does not apply just to animals. Pretty much anything you might see in the produce section of your supermarket is the product of artificial selection and domestication. There might be wild variants of these different vegetables or these different fruits, but over roughly 10 or 15,000 years of human agriculture, every generation of crop, they would have selected for the crops that are more robust, that tasted better, that were able to grow in different climates. And by allowing those variants to reproduce, we eventually ended up with the domesticated crops we see today.
Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk about evolutionary selection.
Okay.
Specifically, natural selection and artificial selection.
Sorry,
Before
let
we
me
get
go
into
ahead
that,
and stop
let's
this.
define
Oh.
selection. So selection is the process by which
Okay. Now let's go, if you can open up your books, you're already there, to page 103. And if you can write this table that I have here. So we're gonna work on the different types of dogs and the traits that we now see in them. So if you can do the chart, write down type of dog, and then on the other side, traits. So we're gonna work together on this. I'll give you a couple of, or a minute to go ahead and complete that. And just think about, what traits do you desire in a dog? So what type of dogs do you like? Do you like big dogs? Do you like the smaller dogs? There's the fluffy ones. I personally have a little Shih Tzu, and she's like a companion dog. I don't know if you guys have like dogs for protecting your home. So let's talk about that. So who wants to start with the first type of dog? Yes.
Me personally, I like Boston Terriers.
Boston Terriers? Okay, so let's start with that one. And why do you like that dog? What trait does it have, or what characteristic does it have that you like from that dog?
I just like dogs because I like how they look. I don't really like their traits. I just like how they look.
Okay, so how does a Boston Terrier look?
I think it looks cute, the Boston Terrier.
Okay, it's cute, but why? Like, what is it? The color? Is
I
it
like
the
color.
fur?
I like the color pattern. It reminds me of a cow.
So, okay, so they're black and white. Black and white mixture. What other type of dog? Yes. Pugs. Okay. What traits do you like in pugs, or what characteristics? Do you like their the feature that comes to mind is their face, their flat face.
Yeah.
So let's write that as a trait. The flat, cute face. What other type of dog do we have? Yes.
Doberman.
Okay. What about Dobermans?
I like how they're tall and big
They're tall,
and vicious.
big, and you said
Vicious.
vicious. So that's more of like a guard dog, right? You would use a Doberman to kind of take care of your house. What else? What other type of dog? Husky? So huskies are very close to their ancestors, right? Huskies are very close to wolves.
Look like wolves.
Right, yes. So what characteristics or traits do huskies have?
Oh, they talk a lot.
They talk? Right, they verbalize a lot. It seems like they're talking directly to us. So they verbalize.
I haven't learned how.
What else in huskies? Have you noticed the color in their eyes?
Oh, they have such beautiful eyes.
They have blue. Sometimes they have one blue, one brown, or one blue, one green. So different color eyes.
They can, what's her name? Scarlet has blue and brown eyes.
Do you have a husky?
9.
9?
9. No, I have 9 dogs.
Wow. So you know a lot of the different types of dogs and the different characteristics that they have, right? Yes. Yes, in the back. Uh-huh. Did you have a question, or did you want to name a different dog?
Me personally, I like the English Bulldog. They're cute, they're puppies, but they could be guard dogs.
Okay. English Bulldog. So what is a trait or a characteristic in English Bulldogs?
They're aggressive, but they're also cute. They could be guard dogs.
Guard dogs? Okay.
Are you talking about the short bulldog? I like the big ones. That's a big one.
Yes.
German Shepherd.
German Shepherd. So this will be the last one because we're running out of space. Okay, we can.
I want to see a boxer.
So what are the traits of the German Shepherd?
They're kind of like a guard dog.
Oh, what? I'm sorry?
They bark so much, and to me, they're kind of like guard dogs.
So they bark a lot. And you said guard dog? Okay, can you guys see that? Yes. And there was somebody wanted to say one last one. Yes.
It's called a Devil Argentina.
Okay, I'm not gonna write it down, but we can talk about it. So what are the traits? How does it look like?
That's really protective dog
Uh-huh.
and really strong.
Strong? Okay. Did you have one more?
Yeah, I would say a boxer.
Boxer? Okay.
Yeah, my mom said she might find it.
Oh,
Because we've been wanting a boxer because they're really protective dogs.
right.
And my other dogs, two of them, mine is a husky and a German shepherd, and she's next to a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And me and her were thinking like, what if we get another dog so we can let them play? Because my other dog is really small and he's not really faithful with her.
Right. Yeah.
She's bigger than her.
Okay. Yeah, so we've talked about some of the reasons why these dogs have been mixed together to create certain types of dogs, right? We talked about the cute dogs, and what are those dogs for? They're mostly companion dogs, right? To keep us company. And we talked about guard dogs, right? So two types of wolves, or their ancestors were mixed together with those traits. You said they're powerful, they're big, they're strong, they're guard dogs. So we have mixed those type of dogs together to combine so that it would be accessible for us to create those different types of traits to fulfill the needs that we have, right? If we wanted a guard dog, or if we just wanted a dog to herd the sheep, right, in the farm. So there's different purposes for the different types of dogs. Yes?
From 2005 to 2014, a lot of people died to bulldogs.
Yeah, that's right. There are dogs that are very vicious.
That's why if they go to the town, they're killed out.
So we have to be very careful and be responsible owners if we have those types of dogs, right? Because they can be very vicious. Perhaps they're not meaning to be vicious, but they just want to protect their owners or protect the property.
I don't consider bad dogs. I say bad owners.
Right. That's right. Yeah, because the dogs sometimes are not trained appropriately, and dogs need a job to do. Just like we need to keep ourselves occupied, our minds working, we need to be in school learning. Dogs need to learn to do a job so that they can be preoccupied as well. Because what happens when you're doing nothing at home? You're just sitting at home, you're just there, maybe playing video games, you're not doing anything. And sometimes that's when you run into trouble. And same thing with the dogs. If the dogs aren't doing anything, have you had puppies where they're little and you don't exercise them, you don't take them on walks, they're biting furniture? So that's why they also need jobs to do. Let me know how you guys are doing on writing these. Thumbs up, thumbs down if you guys are almost done. I see some people still writing. I'll give them a couple seconds. Let me know when you're done. Are you guys done? I hear talking, so I think you guys must be done. Alrighty, let's turn to the next page. Yes? Did you have a question?
Oh,
But-
okay. If you look on your page,
You're still writing?
yeah, just like
Okay.
I just need one.
No, go ahead. Yes,
My bad.
go ahead. And not only dogs, but we saw also the fruits and vegetables, how they have changed. They have mixed the different types of seeds and different types of trees and plants to create new ones, right? Like the things we see now in the grocery stores. Perhaps that wasn't the case, years ago. They had different types of seeds that they mixed together. So it's not only in dogs or different animals, but also in the produce and the food that we eat today. Even they show the pigs, right? The chickens, the beef. So everything has changed. Humans are able to alter and, mix those different types of organisms to create new ones to be able to meet the needs that we have today.
There's also another dog.
What type?
Wolf dog.
Wolf dog. So that's very
It's
close.
mixed with a husky, German shepherd, and
Right. Yeah. So that one is very close to the ancestors, and it was probably breeded to do a certain job, right? Because huskies have jobs to do.
wolf dogs.
Okay. Are you guys ready? Almost done? Ready? Okay. Let's turn to the next page, page 104. All right, so it says, did you notice the different traits in different types of dogs? Now that you have brainstormed some ideas, use your observations about the phenomenon to make a claim about how dogs can influence traits in dogs or other organisms. So humans have influenced traits in organisms. How? How have humans influence the traits in different organisms, and like we were talking about in dogs? How did they do that?
Like training them?
I'm sorry?
Like training them?
You said training? Right? But prior to that, what did they do?
Correct.
So yeah, so let's write it. I'm gonna write it a little bit bigger. Well, you guys have it on there. So humans can influence traits on organisms by breeding different types of organisms and species. Okay, so that is our claim. Humans can influence traits in organisms by breeding different types of organisms and species. How are you guys doing? Good? Okay, I'll give you a couple seconds to finish writing that down. Thank you guys for being on task, for collaborating to the discussion. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Okay, is everyone ready?
Yes.
Let's move on to page 108. Okay, page 108. Can someone help me read? It's like 1 or 2 paragraphs. Yes. Can you please read loud and clear so we all can hear you?
Selective breeding.
Mhm.
Watching natural selection.
Selection.
Selection and action is like watching mountain grow taller. It
Occurs.
occurs over many generations, but it usually cannot be. It is easier to observe the type of selection
Practiced.
practiced by humans. When humans breed
Organisms.
and food
For food.
for food or for companionship,
Mhm.
they are
They are
selecting
variations.
variations that occur naturally in populations. They are
Does anyone else? Would anyone else like to read? Hold on 1 second. Yes. Okay, go ahead. We're here. The selection
The selection and breeding of organisms
with desired
will desire traits in
is
selective breeding. Selective breeding, sometimes referred to as artificial selection, is similar to natural selection, except that
humans instead of nature
instead of nature do the selecting by breeding organisms with desired traits. Humans change traits just as natural selection does. Cows with
increased
increased levels of milk
production
production. Dogs of different sizes and roses of unique colors are produced
are products
of
selective breeding. Right? Yeah, so we learned that it's not only animals. So it's different fruits and vegetables, different plants, and also the milk that the cows produce. So we can get higher quantities of milk through selective breeding. So dog breeding is a prime example of that artificial selection that we were talking about. Although dogs are descendants of the wolves, the use of artificial selection has allowed humans to drastically alter the appearance, like we were talking about in the beginning. For centuries, dogs have been bred for different desired characteristics, leading to the creation of a wide range of dogs, from the Chihuahua, as we talked about, to the Great Dane. Have you guys seen a Great Dane? It's a big dog. It's a really big dog. It can grow up to here. Like, it can grow up to 3-4 feet. So they're really big dogs. And if we compare them, right? If we compare them to Chihuahuas, there's a huge difference. Although they came from the same type of dog, which was the wolf. Artificial selection has long been used in agriculture as well, to produce animals and crops with the desired traits. The meats sold today are results of selective breeding, like the chickens, the cattle, the sheep, and pigs. Many fruits and vegetables have been improved as well, and even created through artificial selection. For example, the broccoli, the cauliflower, and the cabbage were all derived from a wild mustard plant. So even the fruits and vegetables that we eat today. Let's go back to page where we wrote our claim. Let's go back to page 104. Let's go back to page 104 and let's just write some evidence of what we have learned. So it asks us to find evidence. What evidence have you discovered to explain how humans influence traits in organisms, such as dogs, through selective breeding? So what evidence do we have to support our claim? So we had said in our claim that humans can influence traits in organisms by breeding different types of organisms and species. So how can we support that? Like, what evidence do we have? What evidence do we have that humans have made those changes in dogs? And we were talking about it in the beginning with the different types of dogs. Any ideas? Something that I just mentioned was higher production of milk in cows. So that's an evidence. So let's go ahead and write that. Page 104, yes. Back to where we wrote our claim. So the evidence is, we have seen, this is one, higher production of milk in cows. What else? What about the different types of dogs? Do we have evidence there that first we had a wolf and now we have
Dog.
what type?
We have Chihuahuas. We have terriers.
Right. So another piece of evidence is the various types of dogs we now have. And let's do one more. What about the foods? The foods that we eat. Did anything change there? What has changed? Remember I mentioned one of your favorite, I know it's your favorite vegetable, broccoli.
No.
It's not?
It smells bad and it's horrible.
I was almost sure that it was your favorite vegetable.
It's a treat, you guys.
It's my kind of favorite.
Oh, good. Me too. It's my kind of favorite.
I like mushrooms too. It's like
Yeah, they're really good.
I don't know why. It's like
You're talking to a picky eater.
Oh. Okay, so broccoli.
Picky eater right here.
good.
I think we can all agree on that one though.
Broccoli came from a type of mustard seed we mentioned. So broccoli, our favorite veggie, came from a type of mustard seed. So it's evolved over time. Okay, and we're going to be concluding with that. We'll conclude with our evidence. Do you guys have any questions? And you guys will continue learning about natural selection and artificial selection in the upcoming weeks. But do you guys have any questions right now?
Broccoli is nasty.
I'll bring you guys broccoli for my next lesson.
What about grapes? I love apples.
Grapes? You guys want grapes?
Green ones. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I like watermelon.
Their fruit is pineapple.
Okay, were you guys done writing the evidence? Did everyone finish writing the evidence? Okay, and no questions?
I thought that was a skull, but it was a seed. Ew. Mushrooms.
I hate mushrooms.
You guys are so